Thank you for your interest in a Schumacher electric arc welder. With proper use, an arc welder will provide many years of outstanding service for your various welding needs. You'll find that your Schumacher arc welder is extremely portable, allowing you to take it to many different project sites. The 90700 runs on standard 115 to 120 volt household current, requiring no special power setups. The 90700 may be compact, but it can easily weld steel up to a thickness of 3/16 inch. The welding guide on top of the unit shows you what size welding rod to use for each job, eliminating any guesswork. Your welder also has thermal overload protection that will shut the welder down before any internal damage occurs from overuse. When this happens, a lamp will glow in the power switch to let you know that it is still plugged in after it cools down. The device will automatically reset itself. And each welder is backed by a full 1-year warranty on parts and labor from Schumacher Electric. To begin welding, you must first prepare the area in which you will be using the welder. Remove any combustible material like paper, rags, paints, or fuel. To avoid electric shock, don't operate the welder in wet areas. Be sure to cover all exposed skin when welding. Wear fire-resistant clothing, thick-soled shoes, safety glasses, dry welding gloves, and use a welding hood with at least a number 10 shaded lens and proper cover plates. Because arc welders give off fumes and gases which can be dangerous to your health, make sure there is adequate ventilation where you will be welding. Check the duty cycle of your welder before starting to weld. Duty cycle is the percent of a 10-minute period in which your welder must deliver its rated load. If your welder is rated at 75 amps at 20%, then it will provide up to 75 amps for up to 2 minutes with an 8-minute cooling cycle. By setting the welder to a lower amp setting, you can increase the operating time. The setting you choose will be based on the thickness of the metal you're welding. With the welder turned off, plug it into a properly grounded outlet. Set the welding guide to the correct metal thickness. This will tell you which electrode size to use. Attach the ground clamp to a section of your workpiece that is free of paint, rust, and dirt. Open the spring-loaded handle of the rod holder and insert the end of the welding rod with no-flux coating. Then release the handle. Extra welding rods should be kept in a dry location when you're not welding. Don't store them in an unheated garage or outside. You're now ready to start welding. Turn the welder power switch to the on position. This will supply power to the rod holder. Put on your welding helmet and lower the face shield in front of your eyes. Never look at the arc without proper eye protection. To strike your initial arc, bring the welding rod into contact with the work surface with a similar motion to striking a match. This will remove the flux coating on the end of the rod, exposing the metal beneath. When you've created the arc, keep a 1/16 inch gap between the rod and work surface as you move it in one direction. For the most comfortable arm position, hold the rod about 15 degrees from a vertical position. Also, keep your head out of the fumes that rise from the weld. A correct weld will be an even bead that equally bonds the two pieces of steel. If your angle is more of a 45-degree angle, the bead will end up mostly on one piece. The bead will rest on the other piece if the welding angle is closer to 90 degrees. There are two hand motions to always keep in mind as you weld. First of all, use a steady downward motion to maintain the arc gap as the welding rod is consumed. Secondly, slowly guide the weld in the direction you want it laid. If your arc gap gets too large, you will have poor penetration or loss of the arc. Similar problems will occur if the arc gap is too close. The rod may even stick to the work surface. If this should happen, turn off the welder first, then rock the rod and holder back and forth until it breaks free. If the weld rate of travel is too slow, an excessive bead will build up. This wastes material and risks melting a hole in the workpiece. Moving the rod too fast will result in little or no penetration. The best advice we can give you is to practice. Develop your technique on scrap metal until you are able to keep a consistent arc and lay a good weld bead. Listen to the weld as you work. A weld should have the consistent sound of bacon frying in a skillet, not the intermittent sound of popcorn in a microwave. When you finish a weld, keep in mind that the remainder of the rod in the holder as well as the workpiece will be extremely hot, so don't touch either one. Turn off the welder power switch before putting down the holder. When the weld cools completely, use the brush and chipping hammer to remove the slag which is built up on the weld bead. You may have to hit the slag fairly hard to break it free. After removing the largest pieces of slag, use the wire brush portion of the tool to remove the rest. Some of the more common welds that you might find the most useful are the butt joint weld, which joins two pieces of steel at two flat surfaces, a corner joint which bonds two pieces at a 90-degree angle, or a lap fillet weld in which you overlap two pieces of steel and weld the necessary joints. Your instruction manual shows a variety of different joints that you might use in your welding projects. We're confident you'll enjoy using your Schumacher arc welder. But if you should ever have a problem with the welder or you just need some advice on operation, call our toll-free technical hotline at 1-800-458-MIGS between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Central Time. If your arc welder should ever need any repairs, there are over 250 factory-authorized service centers across America available to you. Ask your dealer for a list of these service centers. Schumacher Arc Welders, designed for America's welding needs.